Okay, hi everyone. My name is Leslie Pyle, and I'm the founder of HireMyMom.com. And today we are so blessed to have Lauren Goldman with the Free Mama Movement with us to talk about mindset and all things working remotely, working freelance. And I know she has a ton of information. So, Lauren, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started. I know you are doing amazing things in this community.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Lauren Golden. I'm the founder of the Free Mama and the Free Mama Movement. And I started many moons ago when I was kind of faced with this sort of life crisis about not feeling like I was showing up as the mom that I wanted to be. I grew up with a stay-at-home mom, and so that to me was what it meant to be a good mom. And I had to kind of internalize and reconcile that wasn't going to be my reality because my family relied on two incomes. And I think that's so much more common today. And so I went back to work, and something happened where I actually realized I love working. Like, I'm very driven. I like making my own money. I like using my brain in a different way than what's required as a mom. And so I kind of made peace with it. But by the time my second kiddo was born, so he's now 6, by the time my second kid was born, I just realized that I felt like I was failing everywhere. I felt like I wasn't showing up for my employer how I used to. I felt like I was letting my kids down all the time. My husband was last. He knew it, poor guy. Like, this was a rough time for my husband. And I felt like I was spread so thin, and I knew that I could do better, but I felt like in having a traditional job, I just felt I couldn't figure it out. I commend the women who can. I could not. And for me, I knew that there had to be a different way. And so I stumbled across the world of freelancing, this idea that I can do things like what I did at my job, provide really similar work, tasks, and services, but I could do it on my own terms, where I was in charge of my rates. I was in charge of the time that I spent. I didn't have to be at a desk from 9 until 5. I could do it at 6 a.m. I could do it at 9 p.m. at night after my kids went to bed, and kind of learning that I could have a little more control if I was really willing to kind of put in the effort and take that risk to go on my own. So I never worked remotely as an employee. I went straight from traditional employment to freelance work, and I was pretty good at it. I made a lot of mistakes, but I made them fast because I was highly motivated. I was desperate to be home, and I had a financial necessity. And so I just failed forward over and over again. But because I think I was willing to put myself out there, I learned a lot really quickly. And so I also found success pretty quickly. And a lot of other moms started asking me what I was doing and how I was doing it. And so that's kind of where the Free Mama movement later came about, is when I realized I do have a lot of things that I can kind of teach to other people. So that's how I got started. And that's what I get to do now. And you've come into my community, and I'm so excited now to speak to your community as well, because it changed my entire life. The idea of having control over my finances and my time and my goals, it really transformed my entire life.
Yeah. And we share that in common, because that's where my whole movement started when I had my first baby. And I may have shared this with you, I can't remember, but I went back to work for 2 weeks and cried every single day. And I was like, I can't do this. And so I began freelancing 25 years ago. I'm a little bit older, but it's what started me on my journey. And it was that same fire in my belly and that same passion that I knew we needed additional income than what my husband could make at the time. And we were not living extravagantly at all. We had a very modest home. We had sold one car, so we had one car that was paid for. So we were not living high on the hill by any means, but we still needed the little bit extra to afford to live. So I love that, we can use something that we're so passionate about to start our own, but then to help and encourage others. Because I tell people all the time, this isn't just a business to me. This is a passion of mine, because I was so driven for my own self to be at home with my babies and have that flexibility and that freedom. That's what led me on the journey that I'm on. So it's very similar to where you are.
Yeah, mine, I started with a mission that mothers shouldn't have to choose between family and financial stability. That was long before I knew I would become an entrepreneur. That was my mission for myself. But once I achieved it, I realized that it was something that so many other women had a passion for and wanted, but they didn't know what to do, just like I didn't. And so I really do feel like it's my calling or my obligation or all of the things to share what I know with other people because it's exactly what I needed. So entrepreneurship found me because of my mission, not the other way around.
That's what I say I'm an accidental entrepreneur because
Yes.
I did not set out to do this. And I know I've made many mistakes, like you said, and I still have many more that I will make.
Oh, yeah.
And I've kind of built the plane as I'm flying, and
Oh, yeah.
a new version of entrepreneurship. So,
and I think that's also, when we first talked about doing this video, we talked about, I feel like so many women are lacking confidence to get started, or there's so many like mental blocks that holds them up. And I think we're two really good examples of you don't have to have it perfect before you start. You don't have to know exactly what everything's going to look like before you take the first step. You don't have to know every software program on the internet. In fact, you probably never will before you actually, put yourself out there. And I know in my community, that's one of the things I see people waiting for. And it's that, again, it's kind of a mindset issue. It's a confidence issue. And I'm so grateful for kind of my low points in my life when my kids were really little, because I do think that they made me very hungry to figure stuff out. And I didn't have time to stop and think about what I was afraid of because I had to do it. And so it's interesting, right?
yeah. So how do you stay so motivated? What is your key to success with the mindset and the confidence?
Oh, well, that's like 3 different things right there. So we'll unpack them a little bit. How do you stay motivated, to me, isn't necessarily a confidence issue or even a mindset issue to me, because this question gets posted all the time in my community. I don't know if it does for you as well. How do you stay motivated? A big part of motivation is getting started, but the longevity of staying motivated, the reason I can have an insane day and my kids are home and we're homeschooling and it's supposed to be the last day of school, but we haven't been at school in 2 months. And I think I have 3 kids in the pool right now. Not really sure where my husband, like the reason I can show up and do this and the reason I stay motivated now is I built really good habits for myself. So that's kind of, we can dive into that or not, but I think the reason I stay motivated and I show up every day, no matter how I'm feeling, no matter what I want to do, is I have really good habits. I have good time management skills. I have healthy boundaries. I have good self-care routines. Something that I always say often is like, us as moms, we have to give ourselves what we need before we need it. If you're already in meltdown mode with a pint of ice cream and Grey's Anatomy and you're crying and you hate your whole family and your life and you've waited too long to fill your cup, right? Like just today, you guys, I got in with a hair appointment. I didn't think this was going to happen, and I get to go tomorrow. And I'm so excited because I'm like, I don't want to wait until it's worse. And I'm just like upset and everyone's starting to leave their house. So you got to give yourself what you need before you need it. Healthy boundaries, healthy time management. But staying motivated early on, it comes, I think, from that fire in our belly. You've got to know why. Why do you want to work from home? Or why do you want to start a business? Or why do you want to leave traditional employment? And go deep. It's not the money, because I'm just, like, that'll fade. You can stay at your job and make money. You got to really know, like, what's that thing that's burning inside of you? And I will also challenge anybody listening that goes beyond just your kids too. What is it about your kids? Because they're still going to be your kids if you're working from home, and you're still going to be working. So there's going to be some give and take there still. You still might need support watching your kids if you're working. And so go a level deeper. Like what is that thing? And so that's how you get motivated early on, but you sustain it through good habits, I believe. So that's one thing. That's how we stay motivated. How do we build confidence? I think was the next. The confidence, motivation, and mindset. Okay, so we'll go to confidence next. So in my community, Leslie, I see so many people playing really small or not even playing at all. Maybe they're like lurking on the sidelines. A lot of posts inside of my Facebook group, which is where most of my community hangs out, is inside of a Facebook group. And a post I see all the time is like, I've been in here watching for 2 years. And I'm like, why have you been a wallflower for 2 years? Like, come on, you just wasted 2 years thinking about this. And I think in it, but it's totally normal, right? And they are not alone. I would actually argue the majority of people are doing this. And if you're watching this right now, you might be the person who's you're lurking because you're fearful. There's a lot that's unknown. The challenge is, I hear a lot of people saying like, well, I just don't have the confidence yet to apply for that job, or to put myself out there, or to reach out to my ideal client, or to go to a networking event or whatever. Like, I'm not confident enough to do that. I'm not confident in my skills. I'm not confident that I'll actually get the thing that I want. I'm not confident. And I think, we have to kind of reframe where confidence comes from, or maybe have a reality check about where confidence comes from, because you're not going to get confidence and then do the thing. Confidence actually comes through experience. It comes through taking something that's foreign and unknown and unfamiliar, and we've never done it before, and we're just creating stories in our mind. Confidence comes from that proof that I have done it, I have lived it, I've gotten better at it, I've grown in this capacity. Maybe something like doing a Facebook Live or speaking in public, maybe something like that, you think it's actually going to kill you, but then you do it, and maybe you weren't totally awesome. Most people aren't, by the way, the first time they try something new, but you learn some stuff, and maybe you do it again, and then you grow and you grow. And so confidence isn't something you just like you buy on Amazon and it gets delivered in 2 days and then you go pursue your dreams. It comes from taking that step forward and being courageous. And actually, I'm reading a book. Are you familiar with Jennifer Allwood?
Sounds familiar.
So she's kind of an influencer, and she just wrote her first book. She's a very Christian-based entrepreneur. Anyway, she just published a book called Fear Is Not the Boss of You, and I highly recommend it. We're actually reading it in our book club right now. And she has an entire chapter where she talks about confidence. And I share a lot of her opinions on confidence, but what she introduced to me that was new, that makes so much sense, is so many women are like waiting for confidence, but what she says is what you should she talks about you should be praying for. Don't pray for confidence, pray for courage. And what I always say is, like, you just need a moment of brave to get started. Like, hit record on that video, hit send on that email, hit send on that job application, like whatever the thing. You don't need to be confident to do it. You need to be courageous to do it. Confidence will be the result of being courageous multiple times. And so I love that she has this whole chapter all about, we keep saying we need to be more confident, but we don't need to be more confident. We need to be more courageous.
Yeah.
And so just having, I always call it that moment of brave. Just, you just need to tap into it for 1 minute, right? Like hit send, hit apply, hit that final thing that a lot of times we'll take a couple steps forward, but then we retreat and we get small again. And so I love that. So that's how I've grown confident. You will not hear me being confident talking about making dinner for my family, doing arts and crafts. These are not things I have a lot of experience in because I don't necessarily enjoy them. That's not my thing. The reason I think other people think I exude confidence is because I'm talking about stuff I know. I didn't know it when I started, but I know it now, right? I've made courses about it. I've written a book about it. Like, so the reason I seem confident to you isn't because I'm a naturally more confident person than you. It's because I was courageous to get started and make those mistakes we talked about. And now I know what I'm talking about because of my experiences. And that's where confidence comes from.
Yes. And right now, oh my gosh, courageous, fear, like they are my theme words right now because we're just living outside of our work world. We're living in a world that you're either courageous right now or you're fearful, and maybe somewhere in between. But, you know, I always try to go back to that. I learned in one of my Bible studies, like, what is the worst thing that could happen if you did a Facebook Live? Okay, it was
wrote that down in my notes.
You know,
I love that you're saying this. I wrote that down. Yes.
What is the worst thing? And actually, it's probably not that bad. So you apply for a job and you don't get hired. So what? Go to the next one and learn from your mistakes. See where you could have improved. How did you not do the best job you could have done there? But, you know, it's like fear is our enemy. And we just watched a movie, Harriet Tubman, which came to me in a dream. I don't know if people believe that God speaks to you in your dreams, but I do. It's in the Bible. And all of a sudden, Harriet Tubman was in my dream. And I'm like, this was last week. I'm like, who is she? I can't remember her story. I know she did something famous and, you know, way back in the 1800s. So I looked her up. And I was like, oh my gosh, if this isn't relevant to the season we're living in right now, because she was so courageous. And one of the lines in the movie was, fear is your enemy. So if y'all haven't watched it, just a side note on having courage and not being fearful. It was phenomenal. Loved it. So.
Well, and I don't disagree, but I'll give another angle if that's not resonating. Here's the deal. Fear is our friend. It really is. I actually don't think it's our enemy. I think it's our friend because it's our brain going, warning, this is new. Warning, this is uncomfortable. And if we go back, like biologically speaking, that used to be to protect us, right? For humans. The problem is we've evolved and we're probably, most of us, not about to be eaten by a bear or like pushed off a cliff, right? So we don't need fear the same way we used to. So I think it's okay to acknowledge it. And the reason I like freaked out I literally, in my notes, I wrote down, What's the worst that could happen? I did a Facebook Live. This was the title of my Facebook Live this morning at 9 a.m. when my 3-year-old walked in, which in that scenario was about the worst thing that could have happened. It happened. I lived. And I think the reason that we let fear hold us back and it becomes our enemy rather than our friend is when we let it dictate the next action we're going to take. Right? So fear going, hey, this is new. Are you paying attention? Are you cautious? You know, if you're about to fall off a cliff, that's pretty helpful. But if it deters you from going after the thing that you want, you can go, thank you, fear. I've got it from now. I know this is new. I'm going to be okay. And what I spoke about this morning is with this idea of what's the worst thing that could happen. Sometimes it is bad. Like I have some people in my community, they've gone through bankruptcy. They've gone through losing spouse, like very real hard stuff, not necessarily as a result of one thing or another, but maybe just life or a series of bad choices over time or just bad luck, whatever. But the reality is, even in those worst case scenarios, let's say you quit your job, you have all this debt, you have no way to pay it off, you can't, like worst case scenario, we'll talk bankruptcy. Are you going to be okay? Are there solutions to get out of it? And I have a lot of resources I could point you to of women that I actually know who now are incredibly successful, but their whole story starts with bankruptcy, which for a lot of us is that like worst case scenario. We can't imagine not getting the job or someone blowing us off, or what if someone's mean to us on the internet, on our Facebook Live, or they think we're silly, or they tell us we're horrible people, or whatever the thing is you're afraid of. It could happen, but even if that worst case scenario does happen, a lot of times we'll be okay. Like we're going to be all right. And so yes, ask yourself what's the worst that could happen. But a challenge for everybody would be to go, cool, if that happened, what would I do? What would I do next? What would I do next? And actually play it out for a little bit and kind of marinate in it and realize, like, don't let the fear be your enemy, right? Let it be your friend. Let it be that warning sign. Now you're more prepared. You're equipped for those scenarios where you don't get the job or someone ghosts you or you get blown off or whatever. And know that you're going to be okay and you're going to go on to the next thing and you're going to be better because of it. You're going to be stronger and more confident and more experienced because you're going to have lived through it.
Right. Absolutely. Because we can always learn from those and we're going to have them whether we do everything perfectly or not, because you can't please everybody no matter what. So
no, and you can't control everything, right? I did not ask to be a homeschooling parent. This was not something I signed up for. First couple weeks, super brutal. After that, we actually found a rhythm. I feel like I did okay, you know, but it's interesting. I think, you know, we're so fearful of these bad things that happen in our life. But if you heard kind of my story at the beginning and then you sharing your story, Leslie, both of us are where we are because of the lower points in our lives, because of the hardships we went through. And I think if we can look at it as, you know, this stuff doesn't happen to us, a client doesn't blow you off, like that's not happening to you, it's happening for you. It's equipping you for the next thing you're meant to do in this life. And that now we're getting into the mindset part, right? It's hard to reframe like that if you haven't been thinking like that before. But I hope that this challenges the way maybe you've been thinking about certain situations. It didn't happen to me, it happened for me. So what can I learn? What can I gain? How does this help me help someone else who's maybe also gone through this or will go through this in the future?
Right. How can I grow from it? Yeah, absolutely. There's always something good that can come out of negative experiences, I believe. So
always. We just
have to look
to see it right away.
Yes. Sometimes that's very true. So back to mindset. What are your tips there on getting your mind in the right place?
I have lots. I will pull up my notes for this one just to make sure I don't miss anything fun that I came up with. But I think, well, so we talked about confidence. We talked about courage. A big thing for mine, we talked about asking yourself what's the worst that could happen. You covered. This reminds me of our interview together where you're like, that's what I wrote down. One thing that we haven't talked about yet is surrounding yourself with the right people. Well, I'll go to two things. One is surrounding yourself with the right people. You know, they say you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I have been very, very intentional since starting this journey about making sure that I have people in my network who are ahead of me. I have people in my network who are going on a similar journey as me. And I think one of the hardest things for us as moms, when we decide that we're doing something maybe a little bit different, right? Because we have a traditional figure, this lean in movement of this corporate mother, which is beautiful. And I'm so thankful for. I'm total feminist. We need more women in leadership roles, but that wasn't speaking to me. That wasn't what I wanted for my life. I wanted something different. And on the other end, we have an example, much like the mother I grew up with. She was an amazing stay-at-home mom, and she was awesome at it, and she volunteered for everything, and she was good at the crafts and the playing and the stuff that I'm like, I don't really fit anywhere in this space. And I think sometimes we can feel really lonely as moms. And when we try something new, when we decide we're going to start a virtual career, which of course is becoming more and more common, probably especially since when you started freelancing, but it's still, I'm always surprised that that's still an objection that women have when they come into my community. They still are saying, you know, my friends don't support me. My husband thinks that this is a scam. Like they still, it's not common enough that you're not still going to have people in your life who don't understand, who don't have similar goals as you. And so I think one thing that can help with your mindset, especially if you have naysayers in your family or in your immediate group of friends, is to be cognizant about choosing to spend time with people who are on a similar path as you, people who are also looking to freelance or start a business or on a personal development path. I always say, you know, for me, entrepreneurship has been the greatest personal development course of all time. I didn't know it was coming. I thought I was just signing up to make some money from home. Right? Like that was my goal, but it changed me in a lot of different ways, right? It changed the way that I care about my relationships. It changed the way that I want to consume new information. It changed the way that I take care of my physical body. You know, I think when you start any path of wanting to grow and better yourself, it kind of trickles into every area of your life. And not every human is ready for that. And we can't place those expectations on those closest to us because they're not you. They're not going on the same journey as you. So just be really cognizant of who you spend time with. And I'm not saying, by the way, like ditch your friends and family. What I am saying is intentionally find an accountability partner, find a mentor, find a coach, find somebody who can be in your life, who can continue to uplift you and kind of be on this mindset, personal, professional development journey with you, because motherhood can feel lonely enough. Entrepreneurship can feel lonely enough. So you have to actively seek out these people to help you. So that's one thing I wrote down.
That's good, you know, because not everyone can afford a coach, but if you can,
Totally.
you know, a coach is great. But if you can't, you know, you have a community, I have a community,
Yeah.
you can get to know people in that regard.
Yes.
Find someone that, hey, I would love to have an accountability partner. You want to be a virtual assistant. I want to be a virtual, let's team up and kind of encourage each other, learn from each other and that sort of thing. So, and that costs you nothing.
Nothing, a Facebook post, right? And let's play worst case scenario. No one replies to your first Facebook post.
Right.
Well, if you've been lurking in our group for 2 years, Facebook's algorithm is not going to favor your post. So do it again. Reach out to Leslie, reach out to me, reach out to our team. Somebody, like, be proactive and just know, just like you're not going to have, you know, a $50,000 a year freelancing business set on your lap, you got to work for it. You also have to work to build these relationships and show up for these people the same way you want them to show up for you. But I'm telling you, community is a very, very, very powerful thing. And if you surround yourself with like-minded individuals, when you have those hard days, when you have those doubts or fears or lack of confidence, you're going to have people who are going to bring you back up and help you have that moment of courage so that you can actually pursue your dreams and your goals. Another thing that I can talk about, actually, I don't have this pulled up in front of me, so we'll see if I can wing this on top of mind. My online business manager and I actually created this framework because we saw a lot of limiting beliefs preventing people in our community from taking that either first step or taking that next step. And it's a lot of very similar things. So I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough skills. I'm just a mom. I'm just a nurse. I'm just a teacher, whatever your background was, right? Like these are things we're hearing all the time. I'm afraid of what other people think about me. I'm afraid I might fail. These were the 5 things. And we actually did a 5-day challenge back at the beginning of this month, which seems like a very long time ago, but it was really only a couple weeks ago. We did this 5-day challenge where we broke down all of these limiting beliefs. And these are all mindset issues, right? And so we came up with this framework and we call it 3N 3C. And I'm going to see if I have them memorized. We only spent 5 days on this, but we'll see if I can do it. So, and this is what I would suggest to anybody to walk yourself through. N number 1 is name it. So whatever you're afraid of, whatever's going on in your head, whatever story you're creating about yourself or your potential or why a client isn't responding to you, or whatever the thing is. Name it. Name the fear. Because again, this goes back to what we were just talking about with fear. It can seem like your enemy. It can seem like it's not your friend. And sometimes it can be, but I think that really happens when it's this elusive thing just telling us we can't. When we name it, all of a sudden we kind of take control over it and we own it. And we're like, cool, it's a fear. It's real. It's real for you. But are you going to give it power over your future? Hopefully not. So number 1 is name it. Number 2 is noodle it. What I mean by noodle is like, don't be afraid of it. Think about it for a minute. Maybe you're afraid of failure because you have tried 20 network marketing companies and none of them worked out. That's a very real fear, but this kind of leads me to number 3 of the ends. Just because you failed 20 times, that doesn't mean you're a failure. That means you haven't found the thing that works for you yet, right? So kind of have a conversation with yourself around your fear. And then the third N is nonfiction it. And this is challenging for some people to do. But the reality is a lot of times when we have fears, especially as women, we get worked up. We're emotional, right? We're all caught up in the emotion of what's going on. I feel scared. I feel nervous. I feel. But just because you feel like a failure doesn't mean you are a failure, right? So the nonfiction of it makes us focus on the facts. And this is a great mindset hack, is take away the emotion, take away the feeling, take away all the pressure you're putting on whatever's going on, and deal with the facts. The fact might be someone hasn't responded to you in 7 days. The fact might be you have an outstanding invoice, and right? But we're creating all the other stories. What's the fact? The fact might be you lost $17,000 in past business things, and it's sitting on the credit card. That might be a fact of where you're at. And that's okay. That doesn't speak to your worth. It doesn't speak to what you're capable of. It's not personal. There's no feelings around it. It's a fact. So that's kind of the first step of the process, is name what you're afraid of, name the limiting belief, name the thing that's going on in your head. Number 2 is noodle it. Spend some time thinking about why this is happening. Number 3 is nonfiction it. So take the emotions out of what's going on and let's face the facts of what's actually happening. Let's see if I can do the 3 C's. So that's where we start. That's where we are, right? That's painting a picture of our reality. The 3 C's are to take us where we want to go. The first C is,
here it comes.
I know the second one. I know it's coming. I'm like, where can I pull up a cheat sheet very quickly? I do have it. The first C is 5-day challenge. I'm cheating. I'm pulling up my notes. I didn't know we were going to go here, but I'm so glad that we are, because this has already helped. 250 people are using this process that I should know in my head, but I just made up, and it's awesome. Okay, let's scroll down. Here we go. There we go. Clarify. I knew 5 and 6. I didn't know 4. 4 is clarify. So what I mean by clarify is get clear on where you want to go. A lot of times I see people lacking confidence, like it feels scary because you don't actually have a destination that you're heading to. And I don't mean the final destination, like much like Leslie not knowing 25 years ago that you were going to launch hiremymom.com. I had no idea the free mama movement was going to happen. That became a goal way later on. My first goal, replace my income. I knew what I needed to do. At the time, I had to make $30,000. That was like my minimum. That's what we relied on. That's what I needed to make as a freelancer. So by clarifying your goal and turning it into a SMART goal. So not I want to quit my job, but I'm going to quit my job by December 31st, 2020. And in order to do that, I will need to be bringing in $5,000 a month recurring revenue in my freelancing business. That's a goal. And I think that's scary for a lot of people because, again, it's kind of like when we nonfiction it means we have to get honest with ourselves about what's actually going on, and we have to commit to the thing we want. Which brings me to number 5, which is confide. This kind of goes back to what we were just talking about a moment ago about not doing things alone. A lot of time, it's like we don't want to tell people our goals because if they know our goals, we're vulnerable. We might be held accountable. People are going to know whether or not we achieve it. The problem is I don't know that I know of anyone who has actually achieved their goals who are living in a bubble like this by themselves. You have to let other people in. So whether it's a spouse, whether it's a parent, whether it's a friend, whether it's a coach or a mentor or anything in between, or your accountability partner, confide in other people what's going on. Let them know what your goals are because you're not going to hit it on your own. You're not going to hit it on your own. You have to have support system. Us humans, this whole isolation we've been in, we're not meant to live this way. We're not meant to. We're meant to do life together. So confide in someone else. And then the last C, our third C, final tip, I only needed my notes once, is to commit. And what I mean by commit is, yes, commit in your mind. Yes, commit to your accountability partner. Yes, that's all good and well. But commitment to me is actually an action verb. So pick the next step. What's the first step? What's the next thing that you can do so that you actually have some forward momentum towards the thing that maybe previously you were afraid of? So it might be applying for a job. It might be reaching back out to a client who owes you money. It might be hitting go on that Facebook Live and saying, you know what, I'm doing it right now. I'm not waiting until I'm ready. I'm going to do it right now. So whatever the thing is that we kind of worked through in the process, commit to taking that first step towards achieving your goal. And that's the NC3, C3, that's that process that we created. And so it's a way to create a framework around, cool, I'm feeling really stuck, or my mindset's not on. I know I'm having these limiting beliefs. And it's just to create a framework so that you can start to walk yourself through that process and hopefully changing the way you're thinking about a situation.
And that's so helpful for people that are stuck or they feel stuck, just to know an action plan to get out.
Yeah.
I wanted to get more clarity on that. If they aren't already in your community, is it something they would be able to jump in and find and start going through that process with other people?
This framework? Well, you just heard about it now. We will do another 5-day challenge probably later this summer, because I like to do stuff, we got to go live. I got to get your feedback. I got to know that it's working for you. So you have it here. You can write it down. I don't have this built out and do a PDF, but you're giving me lots of ideas right now about things we could create for people. We'll have another 5-day challenge later. And then I actually do have an accountability group that we started after this called the Free Mama Squad, which will open up later this summer as well. So it's kind of to give you the C's all at once. It's all centered around getting clarity on your goals, creating productivity for you. I'm kind of a time management junkie, so that I like this stuff. Giving you accountability, people on your side who know what your goals are and can help hold you accountable towards achieving them, and then knowing what action steps to take. So we do have some resources coming later this summer that people can jump back into.
Okay, that's awesome. So one final thing I know you have different facets of your business. Would you kind of in a nutshell tell us about all the wonderful different things that you offer and do?
I would love to. So believe it or not, most of what I do is completely free because I'm just obsessed with this stuff. So I have Free Mama TV, which is a how-to resource over on YouTube. It's a lot more practical, as YouTube videos typically are, right? So it's how to create your email signature, how to network in Facebook groups, a lot of very tactical type stuff. Actually, just this month, I launched my podcast, Free Mama Radio. So we have a podcast now, and that is a lot more inspirational with some tactical mixed in, but much more inspirational, motivational, a lot of interviews with other female entrepreneurs as well. You please come join my Facebook group. It's free. I go live every Thursday morning. I answer every question or post I ever get tagged in. Sometimes it takes me a couple days, but I will get back to you always. And it's just an amazing place to hang out. I have my book, which you can see right there. You can find on Amazon. We do have a quick start freelance success kit. So if freelancing is something maybe you're brand new to and you are just looking to dive right in, it might be a great place to start. It focuses primarily on skills. So what services you would provide that are in alignment with what you want to do, as well as client acquisition. And then my main thing, kind of what I'm known for, is my full 12-week program. It's called the Free Mama Movement. And it is A to Z, everything you would need to know about starting your own freelancing business from home.
And so where would they find that? You have a separate website for it, I think, right?
Yeah, you can find links to everything I just mentioned if you go to thefreemama.com.
Okay, perfect. And
they're all in the head bar, so you don't even have to try very hard.
We will put that in the description of the video in case someone just wants the easy click option.
Yes, take it.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lauren. You have provided a wealth of information, and I hope that you've helped a lot of ladies, men, if they're watching, kind of kickstart themselves in the right direction if they're still sitting on the fence.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Leslie. I love this topic, and if I may, I just want to offer, it's my favorite quote. I mention it in my book 5 times, and it has to do with mindset, and it's Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or think you cannot, you're right. So if this is something that's new for you, if you've been on the fence, if you're, but what if I leave my job and I fail? What if? I just want to remind you, if you believe you can do it, Leslie believes you can do it, I believe you can do it, the tools and resources are out there for you to figure it out. I promise you, if you are resourceful. So just have that moment of courage, right? And then the confidence will follow. And I know that you'll be a success and reach your goals.
Yes. So good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.